Good evening. Tonight we're going to continue on with the series God's Teachers. And again, it's based on a manual for teachers as written by Helen Schuckman, who is a scribe for A Course in Miracles. And if anybody wanted any background information on how that come about, just let me know, or I'll be posting it here on my channel. All right. So I'm going to start out with the prayer that was my mom's favorite from Course in Miracles, and so here it is. I am here only to be truly helpful. I'm here to represent Him who sent me. I don't have to worry about what to say or what to do because He who sent me will direct me. I'm content to be wherever He wishes, knowing He goes there with me. I will be healed as I let Him teach me to heal. Okay, so I'm going to first read this short paragraph, and we had talked about who are the teachers and who are the students. They use the word, or the word is used, pupils, which is not my word, so whenever it says pupil in this paragraph, I'm going to say student instead because that's my word, that's why. So here it is. When student and teacher come together, a teaching-learning situation begins. For the teacher is not really the one who does the teaching. God's teacher speaks to any two who join together for learning purposes. The relationship is holy because of that purpose, and God has promised to send His Spirit into any holy relationship. In the teaching-learning situation, each one learns that giving and receiving are the same. The demarcations they have drawn between their roles, their minds, their bodies, their needs, their interests, and all other differences that they thought separated them from one another, fade and grow dim and disappear. Those who would learn the same course share one interest and one goal, and thus he who was learner becomes teacher of God Himself, for he has made the one decision that gave his teacher to him. He has seen in another person the same interests as his own. So I have quite a few experiences, life experiences, where I experienced exactly that. Let's see here. The first one that comes to mind is I was in the military and I was on a post, and there was a master sergeant, and he actually ended up getting in trouble because he would go out visiting those under his command, but he was talking about the Bible and the principles there, and in his mind, wanting to be helpful to those that he would say that to. So he had that kind of reputation, and of course people that don't want to hear anything about the Bible or don't want his advice, felt that that was not proper or not right, and especially because he was in a position of authority. And so I had heard this about him, and at the time I was married, and I wanted counsel about what to do about troubles I believed that we were having. And in that moment, he had started talking about how he felt that I was completely wrong, meaning I was playing the man's role, bringing home the bacon, so to speak, also serving in the military, which was only for men, and his take on the Bible and the men's and women's roles he felt were modern day. And but again, he was coming from a heart of helpfulness. So he basically said that the trouble in my marriage was based on that, and that our roles had been reversed, and that my husband wasn't able to step into his role as a man to lead our marriage. So at the time, I remember being really offended. I mean, offended about the whole thing. And so what happened years, all the way fast forward till now, and I was recently practicing a meditation practice. And while doing that practice, some things were revealed that have blocked me from myself and my God and from myself and other people. And so one of those realizations was that I thought that my dad had been let down by having me because he kept having girls. He had been married before and before my mom, and had a girl and adopted a girl, and then he had me. And so I made a decision early on that I'd be the son that my dad never had, that that I'd make him proud of me. And so any hints that I got along the way of what sons do as opposed to what daughters do. And so my take on sons was they do not show any emotion other than anger, that they fight, they don't surrender, things like that, that they're usually in positions of authority or leadership. And so I played that out the majority of my life, and then as a single parent, played it out again. And then just in general, including the military, it was protecting and serving other people, serving my country, thinking also that people couldn't handle their own business, their own affairs, that they needed instruction to do so. And so that came from a place of ego where I thought that I was smarter than, faster than, and all of that. And so the opportunity that he presented me with years ago to see things differently, I saw as offensive, but then fast forward it, and the release and the freedom that I got to explain why some things have been so difficult, so hard for me within relationships, especially love relationships. Or so these appointments, it's like a holy instant, an opportunity, and it might be a very short encounter, like on a bus stop or with a clerk at a clothing store, or that we're all afforded opportunities. So one habit that I was in for years was before I'd go out the door or before I would think of making phone calls, I'd say, how can I serve? And instead of going, how am I going to get some milk and some food in the house, or what do I need to pick up from this store, or what should I take care of while I'm here, I started basing it that even if I was going to the store to get items that were needed at the house, that I would go with the intent of being available for one of these instances. So time and time again, I would find myself praying with somebody, oftentimes asking them to pray for us both, or there would be opportunities where there would be someone. Okay, so another example would be as a small child, my mom was Baptist and my dad was Catholic, and how they got together, and she's from Joplin, Missouri, and he's from Brooklyn, New York. And so they were obviously a lot different in their belief systems. And so I was raised initially in the Baptist church, and in that setting, I remember that Jesus was love, that church was long, especially Wednesdays. They were really long, and she wanted my dad to participate, and he had said he was Catholic but wasn't really attending on his own. And so she said, if we become Catholic, will you attend? And he said that he would. And so in that experience, I had opportunities to meet different priests. One was like John Denver, if you are familiar with him. He's an acoustic guitar singer, and that's exactly what this priest would do, in part of his service. But there was a visiting priest, and I don't remember, he just gave the message that particular week. I know that I was a child, probably middle school, I'm guessing. And it was customary to greet with a handshake, coming and to give a handshake leaving. And so when I went to shake his hand, he held it. And I didn't feel like, let go of my hand, that's creepy or nothing like that. But he held it more like an embrace of it. And he said, I feel that you're going to be either a minister or a missionary. Didn't really think anything of it at the time. And again, it was an opportunity where someone was giving me a message that might be helpful, that might give me some direction as to which way I would go. Now, of course, in my case, I chose to always go the opposite direction, or go off the beam, the path. Like the definition of sin that I had heard was missing the mark, and that always made more sense to me. Because if there was sin, and those that are Christian believe that Jesus died for that sin, then that's been erased. Or the other thing is that this is illusory and sin is just not real. It's what we created. But whatever our take on it, in each of these instances, sometimes I asked for help, especially when counseling someone or being counseled, of what to say, or when to speak, or those kind of things. And then sometimes there was no planning involved. But what they all had in common is there would be a small instance where all differences, like I read in that paragraph, would fade away, and that we would recognize each other's innocence, or recognize the best in one another, and forget what differences we had, or forget, you know, the what we see physically, the judgments that we have. And so this teaching for me, all the way through A Manual for Teachers, has been truly helpful, just in navigating life, especially in relationships. And so there's so many forums out there, and of course, whatever you find to be most helpful to you, and we honor that in one another, and that each experience is our own, and so how can we argue with each other's experience? The forms that we use, if the Bible is something that you find comforting, that can help guide you through life. And I've also found that there's a lot of people that don't use any books, don't go to groups or counseling, or any of those, and they may practice other things that help them to feel connected. It could be like gardening and sharing that with others, or it could be a specific cause, like feeding homeless, or so we each have a pocket where we shine. And so hopefully in going through these lessons together in general, we can rise up to our fullest potential, recognize that we have our own best answers, and that we can go in prayer and meditation and have direct access to any answer that we need in the moment. And it's been my experience that there are those that have foresight. I think that's the word, where they can do a plan and expect that plan to come into full effect, say 3 years down the road, and they can take those steps towards that end goal. My daughter's a good example of that. She sees the whole picture and way down the road, and learns what not to do and what to do, and has the patience to take each of the individual steps to accomplish her end goal. And I've seen her do it over and over again. Whereas with myself, I have found that if I had an inspiration or a guidance, and I was excited, I was filled with anticipation of an action to take, that that I'd get way ahead of it. Meaning, For myself, I got to keep the lamp at my feet. I like that, story within the Bible that, that's as far as I need to go is within today, the steps within today, and that it might change tomorrow. And so, that's what I practice. Does it always? There's nothing that's 100%. But I think in general, the more we expose ourselves to uncomfortable initiating a conversation with a person can be really hard. And so this will help us to have the courage to know when and how to approach others. And again, I have found unsolicited advice is not helpful, and it does come from an ego place. I know oftentimes I have told people what I thought they ought to be doing and how they ought to be going about that. Or I would go through the sign and say, you don't have to experience fear or anger. You could do this. Now, but when I think about how many times, that they actually asked for my opinion or asked for my help, those were few and far between. So what can I do? I can be truly helpful by working on my relationship with my Creator and working on my relationship with others, working on my own physical health, working on my own finances, things like that, and I have found that currently, I guess if there's an intent or a desire that this is the best, that the most motivated to maintain that is joy. Every time I feel my lip going on the floor or getting glum, it's just like a decision. No, get up, do something else that is joyful. Get up and make a phone call. Get up and walk through that fear. And so that's my current. I had experienced the peace of God in my heart and my body, in meditation, in life, but not a lot of joy. A lot of humor, though. But a lot of times that was sarcastic humor, and that still works for me because it was my family's love language. That it was sarcasm, but that's usually a friend pointed out that that's usually at somebody's expense. So I'm just going to do 20-minute sessions each time as guided, and my terms are the Holy Spirit. And again, it'll be a short reading out of a manual for teachers. Please subscribe if you're interested, and you're welcome if you want my contact information, if you have any questions or would like to attend any groups that myself or others that I know are having. I have a really good pool of friends from all walks of life, from all cultures, from all experience levels. And so there is a Facebook group that I just started, but I haven't really got it going yet, called Bridging the Gap. And that's what that's about. And you can get a mentor there, or you can mentor somebody there, or you can just participate. And you're welcome to share anything that you're passionate about that helps you navigate each day in a better way and an easier way. So, and then also there recently formed Attitudinal Healing. We don't have participation yet. And those that I reached out to and will continue reaching out to are those that I see it would be helpful in their field. Attitudinal healing is often used in hospitals, jails, institutions, or as a result of, say, a natural disaster or a school shooting, the grieving process, anybody suffering from terminal illness in their family, those that have lost family members, say, to suicide. And so attitudinal healing is just a good, solid group that practices where we're not giving advice to one another, that I'm healing. If I'm the facilitator, I'm healing as you are. I'm removing blocks between myself and my Creator and becoming a better person. My definition of what that looks like And so that's another group that's available. And then A Place for Miracles, I co-pastor here in New Mexico, and it's based out of Las Vegas. And so she also has a class and will be restarting the class, a Bible class. And it was a class that she taught me with from the Aramaic translation. And that class was also truly helpful to bridge gaps in myself of confusion around the Bible and how to apply it in my own life and be more helpful with less blocks there. So that's a class that she has available. She also will be having Sundays services, which I'll attend also and just speak a little bit at the end, just prior to the closing prayer. So there's a lot of things that are a result of people coming together that normally wouldn't mix. And there's a whole lot of that going on right now. And I believe that when two or more come together with a common goal, and with not a lot of blocks there, that great things can happen. That's how A Course in Miracles came to be to begin with, and the supplements that went with it, that you know brought that to fruition. So, anyways, have a good evening, and until next time.